Greetings, Neverwinters, and welcome back to the Inside Neverwinter podcast, episode 15. It is January 19th, 2014. I'm your host, Peter James, aka DJ Takuya, and for this week, this is my co-host, Phobet. Say hello.
Hey everybody, how are you tonight?
Doing wonderful. It's been a great week, a little bit late on our podcast this week, as I'm sure you've noticed, but never fear, we are back. So, at the top of the show here, before we really get started, of course we always have some chat and we always discuss whatever's going on with us in game here. Before we get started this week, I want to drop and let you know there's been a lot going on behind the scenes this week. Namely, we've got lots of different lines of communication open now. The first is, if you want to talk back to the show, we have an account for the show on Twitter at inside_NW. Or if you want to shoot us an email, you can find us at InsideNeverwinterPodcast@gmail.com. We're also on iTunes and Podbean. We'd love to have your feedback in those places as well. Find us on either of those by searching Neverwinter Podcast. We always love to share viewer feedback on the show and give you a shout out. But that being done, let's get straight into what we do, which is we usually talk about what's been going on for this week. So, Phobet, tell first of all, I think you're new to all the listeners here. We did try to record an episode with you in it last week, but we didn't make it too final with that. So, tell everyone who's listening out there who you are and what you do and what you're playing.
Okay, well, as you know, I go by the name Phobet. I am a hunter ranger, level 60 hunter ranger. Right now I'm playing the two campaigns there, Sharandar and Dreadring. And I find the progression seems to be very interesting.
Very good. Campaigns are, I think, they at the time they were like the only thing going for me. Now that the guild's up and been going, and we've got lots of stuff going on there, and all sorts of activity and things to do, that's kind of almost fallen to the wayside for me. But it is really great to have some end game questing to keep you kind of rooted in the storyline. So, I think you're one of the players. You told me that you basically played both at the same time. Was that right? Was that you who told me that?
Yep, I'm doing both at the same time. I find the stuff in the Dreadring is a little bit higher than the stuff from Sharandar, but I imagine from using both sides, you can mix and match to figure which one suits your playstyle and which one will help shore up the attributes of your character with that you're actually lacking in that you want to build up.
That's right. The different boons that you pick out there. I just hit 60 on my HR not too long ago as well, and I was starting to pick out boons. I guess it was a little bit ago, because I'm picking out boons now, a couple boons. But I've had to take the choice, I think from the Dreadring campaign, probably the first or second one was pick, it was either take 250 regeneration or 250 lifesteal. I think you went through that choice too. Did you end up picking one or the other?
Yeah, I went for the lifesteal.
Yeah, that's what I did too. I kind of went on the theory that if I'm at the keyboard playing the Hunter Ranger, I probably should be hitting things so that I can get life back. And inversely, the more you hit and the more damage you're doing, the more you are getting back. Proportionally, that should put your damage at a high enough meter where you're getting reliable healing. It's also it just kind of follows the DPS mantra going. Put out more damage, and so that will help reward that and feed off of that. The regeneration, while nice for it because it's static regeneration, I guess the only reason I didn't think about picking that so much was the fact that regen wasn't something that would help me overall, like as far as feed into my strategy of get crit, get lots of it, get power where possible, but crit should be the main focus. And through those high damage hits with aim shot and split shot there, I feel like those are my strongest at-wills, especially for dungeons. I felt like with that kind of DPS synergy going, the lifesteal served me better.
I totally agree.
Okay.
I find split shot to be great when you're doing dungeons because it's basically an AOE besides split the sky, and it does a lot of high damage. I find that there are some groups that split shot just actually works with. That if you're doing a single shot, it takes a lot more longer because you're single shotting one, and it has time for all his friends to come and surround you.
That's true. The one thing I'm not liking about this DPS build is the interrupting of an aim shot. Aim shot has not terrible charge time, but it is charge time nonetheless. And rather than being a cast time that gets pushed back like a normal cast in an MMO would be, you cast a spell and if you get hit, it knocks back that cast meter just a little bit, but you spend a couple extra seconds casting. That's what that amounts to. Here, you get the entire cast canceled if you get struck, so you're really not going for that in any kind of situation where you're taking the damage. And solo, you wind up taking quite a bit of damage. It's even if you didn't accidentally pull some stuff, dodging around and shifting away from enemies.
Right. Actually, an aim shot is probably good for an opening shot against something. Take out the weakest link, and then go from there.
Yeah. I've got to admit, aim shots kind of been my favorite when I'm facing those big, tall troll brutes in the first Sharandar lair, Gnarlroot Caves. I love that when I get to those big troll guys, 3 in a room, because I can aim shot them down one at a time. Pull one with an aim shot, because aim shot's got a pretty decent range on it. You stand back and aim shot him until it pulls, and then he comes at you, and your tank pet or whoever will catch him. You can hold him there just long enough so that you can pop out, for me, 2 more aim shots and kill him. And you can repeat that process with the other 2 big, heavy troll guys and not have to fight them all at once.
Exactly. If you have a good tank pet like a Frost Mimic or the Shield Maiden, that actually helps you out. Helps delay their getting to you.
Yes. Although I find that I kind of I'm kind of sorry about that. In a bit of a conundrum here with aim shot versus rapid shot. The one thing rapid shot has for aim shot is that you're never sacrificing your mobility with aim shot. If you're holding down aim shot, you can actually, I think you can, at least you could when it's aim strike, or rather rapid strike, I'm sorry. With your rapid move, with your rapid at will, you're able to kind of move around a bit and not lose so much DPS. If you split shot or aim shot, and then have to move in the middle of the cast, you've lost all that DPS. That's the one thing that's just making me really regret having only 2 at-wills available. Because I think every Hunter Ranger at-will would be amazing, especially because encounter powers for us are mostly supportive and or kind of group powers. There's a couple that they put a debuff on the enemy and do a little bit of damage, but mostly our encounter powers seem to be about support.
Right, exactly. We actually help the high DPS as the control mages or the great weapons fighter actually do their thing by debuffing the boss or debuffing whatever they're attacking, and also providing range support when we need to take out archers. I know one that's in particular is Icefire, where you have to take out the archers. The archers will wipe out the whole group because they hit for 1K apiece, and they hit pretty often.
Really? Hadn't done that one yet. I've got to keep a lookout for those guys. Like I said, campaigns were my solo thing, and they still are. I do solo still a bunch, but I'm getting way more into dungeons now because of the guild. I guess even... I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, that's always fun. I find running dungeons with guildies is a lot easier because you're in Mumble or you're actually speaking with them, so you actually work out a strategy and actually have people follow the strategy as opposed to work out the strategy and then people just do whatever they want anyways.
Yeah, you've got a few horror stories about groups that don't have any coordination.
Oh yeah, I find that the pug groups, they're not, when you're able to get it together when the pug group is actually working, that's the pug groups are few and far between. There's very few that I found that could not get it done or that I had left because you're basically dealing with people that are shiny balling the boss or shiny ball in this, and they're not thinking of any other alternative. But that's few and far between. Most of the groups that I've had have been very on top of what they need to do and how to do it.
Right, they know what's expected of them. They've kind of got their role in the group down. There are still some people who don't seem to have it grasped yet. I know I benefited a lot from past MMO experience, as well as already leveling one character on this new Hunter Ranger. Just kind of already knowing what all the stats did, mostly, was the big thing for here, because I was kind of like, all right, this will help for DPS with this character. This is really the kind of build to go for this. And I found that with this, I only looked up one thing, and that was really just some good advice on what kind of weapon enchant I should get once I finally got a Tier 1 bow. So when I looked up that one thing, I found what more or less fit my general strategy, my synergy here, and went with it. For the most part, I've just been building how I think how I think will get me the best DPS for the way I play it. So that's been really fun. That's been really nice. And I think sometimes there is a bit of problem with that, especially in randoms. If everybody's doing their own thing, quote unquote, like their own build, they might not have played it long enough to get the experience to know what's pulling the most DPS or not, or what's the correct move for the correct situation. The kind of, whether you're knocking things out of an AoE, like say a Hunter Ranger throws up Split the Sky, and you put a knockback on the mobs that you're trying to kill out of the area of effect of Split the Sky, and that wastes a whole encounter power.
I've had that happen.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you go ahead. You said that you had that happen.
Yes, I have had that happen. It's usually a control wizard that either has a knockback, or they have that. I have a control wizard, but I don't remember the spells. But it's the one where I call it the ball of get the hell over here, where he throws it in there and it just pulls everything towards it. It's great if you're able to time a rain of arrows, or you're able to time a seismic shot with it, or if you have a control wizard that knows about your character, so their role can help support your role. But sometimes you can get a control wizard that just does it because that's their high DPS thing, and it messes things up.
Yeah, they're sacrificing their group DPS for their numbers, which is not the kind of people you want to run with.
No.
Because there are some times when it's better to have, your own numbers get smaller so that the group's numbers overall get bigger. And that's the whole point of playing support classes. And overall, I would say the Hunter Ranger is probably more support class than DPS class, it seems. Although we pull some pretty decent numbers. I've seen some numbers of really great HRs and seen some really lousy HRs, cough me, but it's been a wide range. It's pretty much however you care to play it. We have one guildmate who spec'd complete support on it, and a couple guildmates who did all kinds of different specs on it. It's been really interesting to see the different play styles coming out of one class, and I'm really, really glad they didn't just make pure DPS pew on a ranger.
Yeah, exactly. So, because you don't want to have a ranger that's pure DPS, but they're fragile. Because as a ranger, you're all over the place. Like I know when I play my ranger in a group, I usually play support because as a ranger, I can look because I'm doing range DPS. I kind of have a broad view of the battlefield, so I might see something that nobody else sees because they're looking at the boss. So I might go over there and say, okay, I need to destroy this vial, or I need to take down this cutthroat, or take down this archer, because they're DPS in the group and they're giving the healer a hard time.
Yep. Or you're in Lair Mad Dragon and the Erinyes keep healing from having the Dread Legion guys near, and all sorts of different things. You really do seem from the back of the party. Because you've got this, this big screen, and only so much of it is taken up by you and other players. So the rest is just your purview. I see what you mean on that.
Exactly.
Sometimes it's really nice to have somebody who can see everything that's going on, especially if that's the person in charge. That's why sometimes the best leaders are healers, clerics, and they wind up, they see everything that's going on. They notice things. but Guardian Fighters and GWFs and TRs that are up in the the front line, and they're banging things around, but they don't see the whole field for what it is. They've got their back turned to some stuff.
Right, exactly. Especially if you have someone tanking it. I think it's the GWF that's usually a tank. They only see the boss. They only see that they need to keep the attention of all these things that are attacking, so that they don't notice that they're being beat down by the rest of the group.
Right. I think that's a great place to sort of talk about the kind of side part of leveling and gearing and things, and that's kind of all the extra pieces that you pick up. Artifacts, enchantments, runestones, and so forth on your mini maxing and your stat buffing and your so forth. So in the state of the game this week, let's talk about some of that refinement and enchants and runestones for your companions, as well as artifacts and just the general process of leveling here. Obviously, we'll start with leveling. That'll probably be the easiest to talk about there first. We both did level a couple HRs. We have plenty more people that we know in our circle in the guild who've been leveling different things, for everything from GFs and DCs to GGWFs. So we're seeing lots of different ways to level. There's some people who power level. There's some people who level solely through Foundry. There's some people who level through just anything they can get their hands on, and then there's some slow and steady people who are picking up everything in the game. They're kind of doing all the content at once there. So the general theory I have with leveling is I like to get those boosts immediately. So I'm picking up those greens from the auction house that are really cheap for AD and have utility slots to put Azure enchantments in. Now, the enchantments aren't so very expensive now. They just need to be more invested into, because you do get to hold on to them for longer, and they are tradable between your characters. So when you get, rank 4, rank 5 Azure, and you upgrade it, to the next rank, you have something hardcore for the XP gain. It does have crit on it for offensive slots, and defensive for defensive, but mostly in terms of leveling, what we're talking about here, when you can consistently slot and reslot your enchants, and you're not throwing them away anymore, it is valuable to have a rank 5 or higher. So as I'm leveling, I'm throwing in 3. Rank 4 or 5 Azures, whatever I have access to that I can spare, justify the use of, and just slot those in the gear. Whatever gear you'll get for your helm, your bracers, or your boots will have a slot for that, if it has a slot at all for enchants. Some of them just don't have a slot at all. But then the other part of leveling is, for me, I think pick whatever you want to play, because the longer leveling grind is going to be what you're not enjoying so much, because it's going to take you out of the game and distract you by how boring it is. But for me, that's been speeding through quests and just, I kind of get those done, and if an NPC will just talk while I'm out running to the objective, that would be great. Of course, there is still like 5 or 6 quests to do at one time, so you're picking them up, you're going out to do them. One of them's talking to you until you get to the place where you're going, and then you're like, okay, time to start the quest. So there's that. There's also these skirmish things that come up, and they always reward you Astral Diamonds, but it is a really good way to level, because skirmishes, you do out-level them, so eventually you're going to get to a point where you missed a couple. So doing a couple here and there while that's up gets you some free money and helps you level really well. And there's one event that goes on for an hour that gives you an extra XP from Foundry. I'm sure if you're a new player, you'll notice that. If you've been a long time player, you've probably seen that 100 times by now. But all Foundries are available to all levels, so as soon as you get the ability to do those are helpful leveling experiences as well. And some of them are fast, some of them are short. I would say advise against doing the really long ones for leveling, but if you wind up playing a long one that you're getting into because of the story, then the leveling would take care of itself. And finally, Dungeon Delves do offer the ability to get some extra gear, but they become way more valuable at 60 than they do anything. You can start to get your tier gear out of those by chance. You can get purple rings and things like that out of there by chance that will really put your gear progression up like 10 whole steps.
I find the gear progression in Neverwinter to be fairly easy. It's challenging in the way that some of the things you have to do are challenging, as far as, you have to fight a certain boss or have to fight a certain boss. But I have found so far that the challenge has not been insurmountable. Like, to get the top-rate gear, you don't have to join like a top-rated raiding guild to get some of the content. You just have to be persistent, and you have to really, really know your character, know your class, in order to play it well, so that you can accomplish those things you need to accomplish to get this equipment.
Right, the end game is much more accessible here than in some other games where raiding is this big 20-man or 25-man thing doing. The other, about not needing a guild, you really don't. It makes groups go a little easier because everyone knows each other. But if you're persistent enough and patient enough, you can get through those terrible pugs that they just. Pugs are notorious. They're just a beating. They're just a beating all over, just banging your head against a boss, just time and time after again. And there is a point where you have to say, "I'm running out of gold to pay for these injury kits, and I do have to leave." So it's perfectly all right to go ahead and say, "This isn't getting advanced anywhere, and it's kind of running out my clock here as far as my finances are concerned." It's like, yeah, I do need to go ahead and leave, because those groups can and probably will sap you of everything you've got. Especially if those people didn't bring any gold or anything like that to do that. It's one of the, I feel like it's a pretty good incentive not to fail a whole lot. You don't get, like, res sickness or anything. I mean, you get revive sickness for, you're not able to be revived again, but you can wait that out for a few minutes while you prepare, and that's actually probably a better idea. But your real incentive to keep things going is how much you're going through your gold and how fast. And different classes and different roles are going to go through that different times.
Exactly. I mean, the great thing is that, even if the group wipes, you're not going to have a giant repair bill, repairing armor and stuff like that. You might have to use a pop and injury kit, but I mean, they're really short money. Unless you're in a group that's failing quite a bit, then you might want to reconsider.
5 or 6 wipes a boss before the strategy changes, and then you're like, got time to spend another 2 gold on it.
Yeah, exactly.
And like I said, it goes even faster if you have people going, "Does anybody have this?" Because you're trying to help out. Because you're giving it the an honest try, and you're going, "Well, can't do this without injury kits being repaired." So
right, exactly.
Fixing your injury that's causing your stats to go down. I like that they're different each time. You can get one that slows you down. You can get one that makes you do less damage on crits. You can get all sorts of injuries that slow you down, and if you're not careful about them, they will wreck your day.
Yeah, exactly. Wreck your day, make you poor.
That, and they compound. So if you had one and then you die again and get another injury, well, it gets worse. About refinement and enchants here. Now, if you've gotten an artifact by now, you've noticed that it refines just like an enchant would, except it's got about 100 ranks. And the upgrades to it from quality, from uncommon to rare, are about 30 ranks, and then another 30 to get from rare to epic, and so forth. But the stats go up on it. It gives you, just static stats. And the on-use, the cooldown ability for the on-use ability that each artifact has goes down as well. And the actual ability levels up a bit. Like for me on my HR, I have the shopkeeper, and he expands his wares every time you upgrade him. So when you get him to purple, he starts selling these distilled healing potions, which are really good. They put a hot on you in addition to their flat heal. So it's really nice to have those if you can get them. Makes it more worthwhile for your group play. Popping it down, say, "Hey, spend a couple gold, get some of these for this thing we're doing." But also, go ahead.
I find too with the artifacts that as you upgrade them, or as you I guess not upgrade them, but as they increase in rank, their specs also increase. So you refine it to rank 1, and then you refine it to rank 2, and the specs increase on that. So you don't have to wait until the upgrade is actually doable, where you need, I don't know, a power stone or whatever the stone. I forget what the name of it. I just upgraded mine. I don't remember the name of it. But you don't have to actually wait to do the upgrade in order to get the benefits of the stone. You know what I'm saying? As you rank up, as your artifact gets higher in rank, it also gets higher in the stats that it gives you. You don't have to wait until there's an actual upgrade where you have to use a reagent to do the upgrade.
Right, the stats on them will grow slowly and surely as you upgrade it, as you continue to refine it to new ranks, which is really neat because you get ones that do, I think mine's a shopkeep and it has movement on it, and then it'll gain deflection when you upgrade it, and the more you upgrade, you actually can see a couple tables online on the wiki that's where what the numbers are for how many ranks you've put into it and how much you can see how it's getting you, and that winds up being, I think, obviously, if you're getting enchantment shards that you don't need, you can pop those in for about 1,000 refinement points, really easy, 1,000 if you're not using it or doing anything else with it. And the other thing that you pop into those are just your regular enchants that you're not going to do anything with. Because they do drop like candy, and you're pretty much only using them to refine other enchantments. And if you've got all the enchantments you can use, you start to have this runoff and filling up your bags, and the only way to just the easiest way to get rid of it is use it refining your item. Especially if you're out in an adventure zone while you're leveling and you don't have enough bag space and you start needing more space open. I know my adventurer's pack got filled almost to the brim with all those enchants and runestones before I started, putting a couple back in the bank and then using the rest to refine.
Yep, same here. You can spend about an hour just upgrading your stuff, just doing your refinement if you save enough.
Yeah, and it does get a little tedious. I kind of wish the list sorted from least valuable to most, because I would always use least valuable first. That's just how I am. Just get rid of the least, and you can always decide later if you run into something you need the more valuable for. But I'm always having to scroll down to the very bottom and click the next thing. Scroll on the very bottom and click the next thing 2 or 3 times each refinement attempt. That puts more points into it. The longer it goes and the higher rank it gets, the longer that's taking with each successive batch of runestones or enchants you put into it. And I've noticed, that enchantments seem to do a lot more for refinement points than runestones do. Which is interesting, but at the same time it kind of sucks.
Yeah, but I find it pretty easy to do the refinement. That it takes a little time, because I remember getting the artifact, and this you can upgrade this at level 59 or whatever it is, and it's going to take 34,000 refinement points. And I find that reaching those points is actually pretty easy. After a while, you'll find that a week will go by and bang, you're ready to upgrade this thing.
That's true. It becomes kind of like a weekly something to look forward to every week instead of every day.
Exactly.
Which I guess from the standpoint of a player, I'm kind of like disappointed about, because it's always about the instant gratification. But from the standpoint of looking at it from a designer's viewpoint, that is a good idea. You do ration out rewards because it keeps players logging in and doing things, which is the end goal. I mean, in a free to play game where you're trying to support paid players with free players.
Exactly. Developers, they want to constantly create that sense of excitement of, what could happen next? What is the new thing that's going to come out? What is this thing going to look like? How is this going to help me? That newness that'll keep people coming back.
Yep, and speaking of the newness, we have something in the news from the Enclave to tell you about. We have another Cold Worms coming up. I think we mentioned this right toward the end of Winter Festival on the show. If we didn't, hey, we're mentioning it now. It's coming up on the 24th that we're going to have Cold Worms Storming the Keep go active. Storming the Keep is just the Black Dagger Ruins skirmish, and we'll be able to queue from it from level 6 to level 60. What we're going to get from it is pretty much the same run as normal. We're getting new enchants, which are brutal enchantments. More details on those as they come forward. Medallions of Battle. They're going to be used to purchase weapons, presumably the actually good weapons, like the ones on Bazaar or maybe the auction house. Just things that are actually for half stats and can be useful. Also, of course, weapon transmutes and dyes, and we always have those. And a new companion. It's from the tooltips that were in game this last week. It seemed like it would be a wolf thing, but we already had one wolf, so maybe they'll do another. The tooltip actually suggested before this last patch that it was going to be a mount. So maybe it was just placeholder. Maybe they really do intend to make a mount someday about like that, but maybe it was just an item I had not been familiar with. But just to give you the rundown of what this is going to be about, Black Dagger Ruins is a dangerous place occupied by bandits, plundering the high roads of Neverwinter, attacking travelers and any merchants who dare pass through this treacherous land. It is time for all adventurers to take arms and bring the fight to Captain Malice Blackdagger and his bandits. On January 23rd, 2014, we're introducing a new Call to Arms skirmish event where players of all levels can take down Captain Blackdagger in the Storming the Keep skirmish. Players can earn more unique rewards by successfully completing the skirmish. To learn more about it, and we'll click that link there. Post a link to both of these articles in the show notes on YouTube, as well as links on Podbean. They should come up in iTunes as well. Let me know all about that in case they do not. And then we talked about the rewards there. It's going to be starting on the 23rd, which is always this Thursday, and ending on the 27th, which is the Monday. So we're having another weekend event, so incentive to clock in on those weekends. And we'll talk about that on next weekend's show when we've actually played it and seen what's going on with it. But like all weekend events, make sure you're logging in over the weekend on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Because come Monday morning, it's gone. And it's only getting here on Thursday morning. So you can play it Thursday afternoon, evening, through the rest of that day. Everyone,
so
of course,
basically it's a 5-day binge.
Right, and they do tend to do this a lot with our over the weekend events here. I think the last time it was a skirmish, it was the Helm's Hold skirmish. Before that, it of course was the Orc Assault skirmish, and then we've had a couple over the weekend events like the Coins of Joaquin and so forth. And it seems like, especially with the new Dread Ring layer rewards, how you can pick your own layer over the weekend, whichever one you care to do. It seems like with those, they're really kind of trying to encourage more weekend play. 9 to 5s, Monday through Fridays being what they are. I wouldn't say most people work that, but I would say lots of people work that. Maybe like 40% of the country works like a reliable schedule, like from Monday to Friday or something. And excuse me there. And it just seems that the weekend would be like an influx of play, and maybe this is the symbol of that. This is just what I look into it, but it seems like the more rewards they're giving, it's more encouragement to log in at lower times, not peak times. I don't know, Phobet. What do you think? Is this indicative that we have fewer people playing during the weekend, or that they want to reward more people who are obviously playing more time overall on the weekends?
I think the way they schedule it, I think they're playing to both groups because it starts on Thursday, and most people work during the week, and they have the night off. Most people don't work during the weekends, so I think they're playing to both groups because you have people that I've known people that they only work weekends because that's the schedule that they have. So they're able to do this on a Thursday or a Friday. I also know people that work during the week, so they can get this done over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. So it seems like the way they've scheduled it, they've allowed both groups to fully take advantage of the skirmish.
Okay, then. And I guess the follow-up question I have for that is, why do you think that? Why do you think they would not make this a week-long at least event? Put at least 4 more days into it, 3 more days into it, and make it a full week's worth of skirmish.
It might be because that they don't have enough content to support it for a week. If they don't have a lot of prizes and things you can get from the skirmish itself, after the first 2 or 3 days, people have done everything, and it's like, okay, where do we go from here? There's really nothing to do now because we've gotten everything. So I'm probably betting that they don't have enough content, or they're trying to make it so that you have just enough time to get 1 or 2 things, and that's it. To make it that much more special, to make it that much more, it's not a normal thing, or it's not a routine thing. Sort of like, when they have that winter event, where you can get the Frost Mimic. That doesn't come but once a year, so you have that specific time to do the things you have to do to get those prizes, whether you're getting a frost mimic or whether you're getting a fawn. So I think that's what it is, that they don't have enough content to carry it through, or that they want to do it just enough where you can get one or two things, but not everything, so that it makes it that much more special.
That is, I feel, a very good point. I feel like the more you are... I feel like the more rare you make these things from the viewpoint of someone trying to make the model feasible and get the money out of it to enable to keep it going and keep people working on it and keep people playing it and keep it a game that's actually still up. It does kind of make sense, because there are players who will come in and put their real money into Zen and then into Astral Diamonds through the Zen, and they'll want to buy all the rarest things, and they just collect anything and everything, and they've got too much money on their hands, and they're willing to spend, a couple $100 getting some nice things so that they can show off for their friends or whoever. So it does kind of make sense to provide some rarity for these things and have them never come up again, because there are people who will spend their money to get them. And it's a good thing there are, because people like me will play this just enough to get something out of it that we can probably sell to make some money to fund our efforts.
Exactly. And the thing too, it's, you want to make it rare enough where it takes some effort to get to, so that if you're getting a new sword or a new orb or whatever, it's just hard enough where you put some effort into it, so that when you finally do get it, you have that sense of accomplishment that, I earned this. I didn't go out and I didn't spend 10 gold to get this. I actually went out and I did this and I did this and I did this, and I'm so relieved that I was actually able to get this, so that I can actually appreciate it, as opposed to if you can go to the shop and pay 10 gold and get it. Well, what's the sense in that? It doesn't feel as special.
Right. And now that we've talked about it, I feel a lot better about it. It's easy just to look at the negatives and go, "Oh, they're doing it to make more money," or from the the naive quote unquote standpoint, and go, "Oh, it's so it will feel like it's not too much or whatever." But I think that makes a lot of sense overall, just from everyone's kind of like the more you look for everyone's the more you're looking to everyone's benefit, the more you're seeing the real reasons for stuff. Is what it seems like.
Yeah, and I think that's. I mean, they are a business. They are free to play, and so they have to make their money somehow. So you want to present challenges that people actually feel challenged on completing, but not that it takes I need to look at everything. My build needs to be 1,000 DPS and all that. You want to make it challenging enough that people get a sense of accomplishment by achieving it, but you don't want to lock out those people that may or may not have those ability to meet those challenges, and you want to give them incentive. So one of the incentives that they have is they have these nightmare boxes, or these drop boxes that drop that you need to get keys for. Now they yield some very interesting things, but you have to go to the Zen market to pick up a key for it. So that incentivizes people to either earn a lot of astral diamonds to pick up one or two Zen or 10 Zen or whatever it costs these things, or to actually spend some real money to get this in-game currency to pick up these keys, so that you can get so that you can open these boxes and see what surprises that they hold.
Yep, that's another thing I think it does kind of provide that money income with kind of the lottery event, the gamble of it. You're spending real money, but you might not get anything. You might not get anything that's really worth that, or you might get something that's just totally worth 100,000 times that, and the odds are just it just comes down to random chance whether you get something that's astronomical or something that's moderate or just nothing at all. Although there are there's always some reward for it, even if you only get the Tarmaloon bars out of those lock boxes. You're able to buy something like a mount or something. After so long, you're going to get something out of it for sure. Kind of like how if you were playing slots for so long, you are going to get, free buffets or something. It might not be, what you're looking for exactly, but it is something to kind of keep you in the casino, or in this case, in the game. Which I'm not going to complain about for any reason, no matter how greedy it seems to me, because that's keeping the game keeping the game fresh and new and alive. The more the more new people come to find it, the fresher it gets.
Yep, exactly. And being totally free, I mean, you can do everything without spending any money. It's a matter of how much time do you want to spend on acquiring these things. And sometimes it's cheaper to actually pay for the kits. But the beauty of this game is that you really don't have to.
You can play as long as you want and still get mostly the same, which really I think mostly the same experience. And I think Neverwinter is probably one of the first MMOs to really show that. It's certainly the first one I played to show that would work. Because as far as I can tell, I don't think any of the developers have had the guts to go through and make something truly free to play and pay for convenience. I think it's either been pay to play in some small way, no matter what, or it's been or like a full-on submodel, or it's been put your money in the game and get your end-game rewards without playing the game at all.
Exactly. I mean, I played Age of Conan, and that's another one of those freemium, they call them, those freemium games. Mm-hmm. And sometimes what it is it's free to play, but if you want to advance your characters, if you want to get certain pieces of armor that you need to attack this or to attack that, well, you have to pay for it. So they're kind of like being a crack dealer, where they're getting you hooked so that you really, really like whatever's going on, but then if you want to continue, well, this is how much it's going to cost.
Right. And that's no fun either for the players. And while we're on the subject of news here, we've been talking a lot about this skirmish and the things that we always talk about when skirmishes come around. But we did have a patch this week, and along with it came some possibly overlooked additions, which are two new companions for the Emporium, the companion Emporium there, and Protector's Enclave. Now I know that we talked the other night about one of them, which was the I think you had one. I think you had the Sly. What was it called?
The Con Man?
Yes, the Con Man.
I found the Con Man very interesting. Con Man is great for a hunter rogue because it adds to your crit.
Interesting. Did you get a chance? How does it look? How does it feel? I know its description on the store shows it has the same abilities, although not the same description as the Cell Sword, who is a GWF. So, what does the Con Artist look like, and how does it feel as a companion?
It's kind of funny because it looks like a rogue with leather armor, but yet it has a sword. So there's some kind of weirdness going on. I thought when I saw the Con Man, I thought it was going to be a rogue because you figure you kind of associate rogue with being a Con Man, So I thought it would be some DPS class that's very fast on its feet. The crits are going to come like crazy, and it depends on catching its victim or quarry, or however you want to word that, unawares, either from a backstab or from a side with combat advantage. But no, this thing has a giant sword and it swings away just like a GWF, but it gives you crit. So it's kind of disconnected there.
That is cool though. A free pet which gives you stats besides power, recovery, and defense, or whatever it was. All those ones seem to have the same things on them. I mean, nice.
It's not free, but it's only like 2 gold, so it might as well be free.
Right, and it is eligible for that level 16 free companion quest.
Yeah.
Now, the one I got was the Dwarven Shield Maiden, and she's different. First of all, she sounds like a man. Second of all, she fights pretty hard. I took her along on a brand new cleric I was rolling, and I was not disappointed. The pure power coming out of this companion was enough to smash things in the face. Of course, this was a level where I would not have had a companion and would have been soloing this stuff. But it just had some gold to throw around on the higher levels, so I decided, well, let's go ahead and try that on this new tune we're rolling, and it was kind of nice. She looks pretty good. I would say she looks better than the Man-at-Arms does, especially in his plain skin, just the way he looks out of the box. But she seems to function the same way, with the same abilities. The only thing that really stands out about her is her basically her skin. She and the stats that she has defense and regeneration. Just out of the box. So whatever she's hitting, she's not afraid to tank it. I'm not sure if the Man at Arms has those stats or not.
Well, I think the Man of Arms grants you defense, and the Shield Maiden grants you deflection.
That's right.
If I'm not mistaken, but I think that's how it goes.
Yeah, I'm getting tied up with the stats that each companion has as well. Like when you get them, they have 10 of this and 10 of this and 10 of this.
Yeah, exactly.
Been looking at that one there.
I mean, when they first come out, level 1, they're squishy as heck. I mean, one cleave from a giant ogre, and it's like history. But the great thing about it is, even when the thing is dead, I mean, it'll still level up as long as you defeat whatever you're fighting.
Yeah, and it's very nice to get a couple levels of XP before you realize it has to train, because you don't have to, because this is just something I've only just noticed, you don't have to have each level in order. If you get your companion with enough experience to jump over a whole level, of course that experience isn't capped before you train, so you can just keep leveling it, and by the time you notice, it's got a whole 2 levels on it, 2 levels experience higher than what it is, going, okay, and go ahead and train it. It'll train it whatever that level it's going to get to would have to train for, and when it gets back, it's already done. All the previous levels will come with that level train that you're sending it on.
That's the awesome part, because you just have to send it out once. I know for me, sometimes you forget to send it out for training because you're doing whatever you're doing. And then I've had it where it's going to level up 4 or 5 different levels. It's going to be gone for about 2 hours. But when you come back, it's 4 or 5 different levels higher.
And it's just along with that upgrade, its base stats do increase. And of course, that if you start off early, getting those loot drops that you can put whatever you can equip, anything that you can, or anything for that. It seems like anything that is for that slot, no matter what class it is. So if you have belt slot on your companion, no matter what class that belt is for, no matter what stats or whatever it has on it, you can equip that companion with that belt. So it's starting to, like on lower level characters, I'm starting to see that, okay, will this belt be ordered for me or my companion? We'll put on my companion.
I have found too that you can actually throw purples on there and not a problem.
Oh yes. Got a couple purples that I got for free. Instead of salvaging them, put them on the companion.
Yeah, exactly. Probably the only problem I have with the companions is if you make the companion idle because you want to bring another companion up, everything that it has equipped drops off of it, and I think that's kind of I really think they need to fix that, because sometimes you might have a specific ring for a specific character because that's how you want this character to be, and you really don't want to have a bag full of stuff because you're changing out your characters. You don't want to carry 5 different rings because there's 5 different characters or 5 different companions that you could bring up for whatever encounter that you have. So I'm really hoping that they fix that.
So you're talking about taking a companion from active to inactive from in the idle companion's inventory space there, and of course everything drops off it. It unequips anything that was equipped. Does it keep rune stones or does it just drop gear?
It keeps the stones and the enchants, but it drops any gear. So if you have a sword knot, or if you have an amulet or a ring or an icon or whatever, it just drops it into your inventory. And I think that's kind of crazy because it's like I might only have one cleric. I'm not going to be able to put this on any other clerik. I only have one. So why drop it into my gear? That's kind of crazy.
So you've got quite a few companions then, huh?
I probably have 6 or 7 of them that I've tried. I'm just trying to find the right combination that works with the skills that I have as a hunter and how everything works out. I just found that switching it out, that I have gear from a companion that's in the idle or in the stable or whatever they want to call it, and I just think that what they should do is just have the companion keep the gear until I take it off to put it on another companion.
Yeah, I mean, it seems kind of artificial just to have it dropping off your companion with no real explanation. I guess I hadn't thought about it because I've only ever, I think, made one companion idle, and that was by accident. because I tend to only pick up enough to fill up active slots. Otherwise, I tend not to bother with companions. I've got the cleric, the tank, the dog, all on my hunter ranger, and I mostly just leave it at that. A couple extra will kind of slot in or out if I'm feeling like playing with them, but for the most part, I haven't really gotten that big into companions. So this hasn't affected me as much. I do kind of wonder if there's some underlying reason that they haven't just mentioned, or if it's just because they thought it would be a good idea to limit what you can do with those companions and the gear that has on them.
Yeah, I think it's kind of crazy. Maybe they're trying to prevent people from using their companions as mules, but when everything's said and done, I'm not going to spend 2 gold to store 3 things. That's kind of crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Right. That would be kind of it kind of odd storage too, because it has very specific slots, for a belt or a sword knot or a ring or a neck, just whatever you've got happen to have. If you happen to have a slot and you're going to store it that way, that's a weird way to store it. I mean,
yeah, exactly. So I don't understand why they had. I don't understand why they have their companions drop stuff. If you make them idle, why drop stuff? Why not just say that they're on vacation, but they're taking their gear with you in case you need to call them back.
Right. I don't know. That's very odd because it's not like you can sell them either. Once they're bound to you, they're stuck.
Yeah, exactly.
I think.
I mean, they're bound to you, and you can't sell them. I'm pretty sure you can delete them if you want, but once they're bound to you, you can't. I guess you can't sell it to someone else. I'm pretty sure you can probably sell it to a vendor, but why would you vendor it?
Yeah. I only say this because I only thought about it because I think I've tried to vendor one, and I probably just wasn't doing it right, but I wasn't successful in vendoring it. So and an idle companion. So I think I was playing around an altar or something, and I just could not figure out how to do it. So I was like, all right, I guess I just can't do that.
It's like, okay, I'm just going to discard this thing because it's so low level, and I really don't want it.
It's like by this point, it's outstated its welcome. So
yeah.
So let's talk about some Foundry. I don't think I played but like one Foundry, and I don't think it was really enough to talk about. Now, you mentioned before we started the show that you played one today that was noteworthy for reasons that were not the usual. Do you want to share a little bit about what it was and maybe the title of it? So, of course, preface this that we don't intend to offend with whatever we say. So if we say something that's kind of that seems a little offensive, we try to put it in constructive criticism instead of it being, coming at you and saying that your Foundry sucked. So obviously, in the past, I've stayed away from mentioning ones that I just did not like at all. So, but of course, there is always room for constructive criticism. So tell us about what you were playing earlier that stood out.
Okay, I was playing a Foundry yesterday, and I don't remember the exact name of it because it had been sitting in my queue for probably the past couple months. Because you can grab Foundry quests and just forget about them, and that's basically what I did. But something about school, first day of school, or going to school, or something like that. I enjoyed the whole premise of it because it's like it's like you're a little kid that's getting up and you're doing all these things, brush your teeth, yada yada yada, to get to school. Probably the only thing I didn't like was being ambushed in a small room by a big giant monster, because it's like, a lot of the characters that you have, if you're running a melee, then it really doesn't matter. But if you're running like me, a ranged fighter, well, being ambushed in a small room, it's your first impulse is to get out because you can't see what you're fighting. But I enjoyed the Foundry. I enjoyed the story behind it. The only thing I didn't enjoy was being ambushed in a small room. That's about it. I really enjoyed it. I appreciated the author. Heck, all these Foundries, I did so many Foundries that I leveled a few times, and all the quests that I was doing afterwards, when I did these Foundries, I was like 2 or 3 levels higher than the quest area was. That's how much I enjoyed the Foundry. So, all you Foundry authors, keep doing what you're doing, because, we do enjoy them. We definitely do enjoy them.
Okay, well that sounds That sounds familiar. I think someone was putting that in chat, putting like an advertisement out in chat the other day for that. Going to school. I might check that out. That does sound kind of neat. But I'm with you on that. I don't think it's going to be very fun trying to do that on a ranger. Melee's not that strong on rangers. I mean, we have the option. It's just not that. It's just not as powerful versus ranged. And I'm not surprised that there are some people who just play ranged on their rangers. They don't really go into a whole lot of melee play, or they probably don't spend a lot of. They definitely do not spend all day in melee range. Generally, it's a terrible place to be as a squishy like us.
That's true.
The boss pops down a red circle, and you're like, "Ah, crap! I'm dead."
I mean, I've been one-shotted by more bosses than I want to count on, than I can count.
Oh man, yeah, you can tell I've learned that the hard way. This last week or two with being squishy. I went from being heavy plate tank to being leather wearing squishy, and I don't like it. I don't like the loss of. Of course, I didn't gear for defense. Obviously, I'm not going for defense on the DPS tune or even a support tune. But I just noticed that how different it is. Being 2-shot and 1-shot sometimes. When I'm a few levels lower than something, forget about it because it's just too insane. And very
different. It's definitely a different play style. I mean, if you're in a character that's fully plated, then you're not bouncing around. You're standing there. You're taking the hits because you have so much mitigation that it takes a while for something to wear you down, and you're just pumping out the DPS. It's actually a war of attrition when you think about it. But if you're playing something as a control mage, right, a control wizard, or if you're playing something as a hunter ranger, I go back to hunter ranger because I really like this class, then you're depending more on getting out of the way and staying out of the red spots. Staying one step ahead, do a little range DPS, boom, 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 and then bounce away. Doing some range DPS, boom, 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 and then bounce away.
Yeah, you're right. I've noticed that playing with having to keep like one eye on the ground and one eye on the boss has definitely shown me my lag is just terrible. If you are playing on like a connection with like a couple hundred milliseconds of latency, especially over Wi-Fi, get the hell off Wi-Fi if you're trying to play this game. But if you're playing with any kind of noticeable latency, and you go, and as soon as you see the red circle pop up on you or under you or around you, and you go to shift out of it or dash out of it, you're going to get caught in that because there's not enough time between the time when it shows up on your screen to the time when the effects can activate and hit you. So if you're playing a squishy, you're going to be very frustrated, and I wound up with that a lot. I was trying to play a squishy class with the only experience in this game being a heavy plate class, and if you got bad lag, play a plate class, play a GWF or a GF, because you're going to have way more fun being able to stand and take hits than you are trying to shift and dodge out of things that you just do not have enough advanced warning for. The other thing about my HR that I noticed is it's very gear reliant. If you do not have current gear, if you have gear from 30 levels ago, even if it's a blue, get rid of that junk immediately. I had to head bash against bosses for too long because I had some upgrades waiting and I wasn't going to use anything else until I got those. But it wound up being worth the AD just to go ahead and get it. Because that was just ridiculous. I mean, I think I died to this one boss like 20 times. It's probably the reason I don't have a lot of gold now as a max level. So, I think that's about everything we wanted to talk about this week. Phobet, what about you, man? Do you have anything to say?
No, I think I think we've run the gamut of everything that we wanted to cover in today's podcast, or this week's podcast.
Yeah, we really did talk from everything from A to Z, so,
Definitely looking forward towards the skirmish events that are coming. I can't wait to see what we can get from them.
Oh, it's going to be lots of fun. You're going to see every other chest is going to drop die. That's what that's going to be. At the end of the skirmish, out pops like a Dungeon Delve chest. You're going to get some dice for your gear. And it's going to be like 20 of those before you get like a companion or something.
Oh,
But when
companion!
that
I love
companion
companions.
pops, it's like, oh, cool. Because I sold my companion from the very first one just like a month ago or so, or two, and it was selling for a couple 100,000 AD, where that was like a 500% increase from what it was selling at right after the end of the thing there. So I was like, I'll sell it now. Yeah, I'll take that payout. Yes,
It's like, yeah, I'll take that AD.
it definitely becomes worth it after a little while.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that too. This weekend, I'll be open again the same times I am this weekend. So I'll be able to play just the same times, even more so than now, thanks to all this that's going on with my work and things in the podcast and the guild here. So looking forward to that as well. If you were looking for more of me on the internet, you can find me on my channel on YouTube, DJ Takuya there. I do have some old videos of a Neverwinter playthrough that's about to start back up with a cleric. I'm going to be leveling my cleric through some foundries, namely. And if you're looking for more of other work that I'm doing, you can check me out on a website called Booksy.com. That's BOOKSIE.com under the handle Knight Rider, NITEWRITER. There I have a book halfway written, I would say a quarter written, called Dragon by Night. If you want to check out some of my work, it's fantasy, urban fantasy in that genre. And if you want to check out what I've been doing away from game and away from guild and away from job, that's where you'll find me. So that's going to do it for us this week. Our intro music and outro music is copyrighted Cryptic Studios and Perfect World Entertainment. We don't own it. Before we get out of here today, just want to remind you that you find us on Twitter at inside_NW, capital N, capital W, or shoot us an email, InsideNeverwinterPodcast@gmail.com. As always, you can find us on iTunes and Podbean. Subscribe to us, link us, do whatever you can. Let us know you are listening. We will tailor whatever you want, whatever you need. Be sure to drop a line. Let us know what you would like to see out of the podcast. So, for me, for the absent JDog, for Phobet, thank you so much for listening to Neverwinter. Safe travels, and we'll see you next week.